What's up, y'all? My name is Alex, and I thought I'd make a little intro video about who I am and just me getting into comic books and my whole journey. So, I'm kind of like a new old collector. I grew up in Lima, Ohio, and my dad would take me and my brothers to a comic book store in Lima, Ohio called the Comic Book Connection, where it was amazing. This comic book store had so many indies. They had everything, and it was like the dawn of comic books for me. And I would go there every weekend with my brothers. My dad was always a collector. He collected stamps, and I feel bad for my brother who got my dad's stamp collection, because that shit is not worth fucking anything. But anyways, I got into comic books when I was a little kid. I collected, and through the years, I didn't really save much. The only thing I saved was apparently when I was 10 years old, I was really into the Badger. And I have this postcard from Mike Barron that he drew the Badger and said, "The Badger doesn't do pictures." It's on his sweet Batman postcard, and it's posted in 1984. So apparently I was 10 years old, and I was really into the Badger. So this is the only thing I have from my youth. And my dad laminated it. I know I'm old, but the generation before me laminated fucking everything. No matter what it is. My social security card says "do not laminate" in big old bold letters on the back of it. My dad laminated that fucking shit. So hopefully it still proves I'm a citizen of the United States, but my dad fucking loves lamination and stamps. So, yeah, so, comic books for me growing up as a kid, I realized I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to engulf myself into art. And so I went off to art school. And 1993, I went to art school and in Pittsburgh. And the thing about it was, I realized really quick, I can't draw worth a fucking shit. But the thing I can do is design. I can make things look pretty by moving things around like Tetris, you know? And so I had my whole comic book collection, and I sold it. I sold it through the years. Everything I had when I was a little kid, I sold. I was way into the indies. I was way into Caliber comic books. The early Caliber comic books. And I had the whole first prints of The Crow, and I sold it for rent. I sold all 4 issues for $150. And when I see them pop up on sites now for thousands of dollars, it breaks my heart. So the only thing that I kept out of my whole Caliber collection was Ashes. I don't know why. I have the Ashes series. It was written and drawn by John Burgin. Probably because I sent this issue off. I think this came out in 1989 or 1990. I sent this issue off, and he drew this rad picture, Maggot's Desire, and then he, signed it all John Burgin design. This fucking comic book is rad. It is so graphically pleasing and crazy. Here's a little bit of it. But that's the only thing I kept on my collection is this Ashes series. And I wish I kept the Crows, because that Ashes is worth fucking $1. But it's close to my heart, and I just wanted to keep it, So, I went to art school. I decided that I was going to go into graphic design, and then I didn't buy comic books for the longest time. Comic books they're always close to my heart, but I didn't buy. And the thing that got me back into comic books, oddly enough, was I was watching Deadly Class on Sci-Fi. Had no clue. I think my brother reached out and said, "Hey, you need to check out this fucking show." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I checked out usually my brother says, "Check out the show," and I'm gonna watch it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no, fuck you. I'm not gonna watch the show. I watched the show and I was hooked. It was right up my alley. A bunch of punk rock kids going to assassination school. Written by Rick Remender, and the show was over, and I had to figure out where this fucking story went. So I went back to the comic book store, and I started buying comic books again. And so here we have Deadly Class, signed by the cast. It just got me back into the comic books, but through the years, I was always trying to like get jobs with graphic design, and comic books was not like out of my range. I always like tried to reach out to people and do it. So oddly enough, this story begins with MySpace. I reached out to David Arquette, the actor. He was making a movie in 2006 called The Tripper. It was a horror movie. And I reached out to him and said, "Hey man, I love your work. I want to do some graphics for you." And he wrote back and he was like, "Yeah, I'm all in." So I started doing some graphics for David Arquette for this movie called The Tripper. And it was amazing. I flew out to LA, went to the premiere, met a whole bunch of rad people. First off, David Arquette is rad. He's still a friend today. I met Thomas Jane, the fucking Punisher. Paul Rubens, rest in peace, Pee-wee. But most importantly, I met Steve Niles. Comic book writer Steve Niles, most famous for 30 Days a Night. And we hit it off right off the get-go. He's an old punk rock guy like I am. He played in a band called Grey Matter. They had some 7-inches on Discord Records. And we just hit it off. We're like, hey, let's work together. Let's do some shit. And so that started getting me into doing some graphics for not really the comic book industry, but it was close. And so a one-shot came out of David Arquette's The Tripper. And it was written by Joe Harris, artwork by Nat Jones. And on the back of it is an art piece that I did for the Tripper movie. This comic book, you could probably find it in your dollar bin, but it's close and dear to my heart. If you haven't seen The Tripper, it's basically another 80s throwback where Ronald Reagan cut funds for healthcare, kind of like Deadly Class in a sense. And a bunch of hippies go to the forest, and this guy dresses up like Ronald Reagan and starts chopping up hippies because he's mental and needs help. Inside of the back cover, here's another art piece that I did. It's Ronald Reagan with a hatchet with the classic 60s peace sign. So yeah, this comic book is fun. This is like the first time my artwork showed up in a comic book, and so it's near and dear to my heart. And then I started kicking the can with Steve Niles a little bit, and all of a sudden they decided to do this comic book called Creator Owned Heroes. And Steve Niles wrote a story called American Muscle, and it's drawn by Kevin Mellon. And I was lucky enough to do the trade dress, the logo trade dress for this storyline. And so I guess this is like the second time something's pulled out. Uh, this whole project was spawned by Peter Palmini, and it came out on Image Comics in what was it? 2012 it was. And so Kevin Mellon, the artist, came out with just recently. He combined all the stories together so you can see the trade dress in its full glory, not just black and white. Super proud of that. Bunch of people like driving muscle cars through the barren wasteland. And check out Kevin Mellon. Kevin Mellon is an amazing artist, and he actually works on the TV show Archer, and he actually works on the TV show Hitmonkey. His website is kevinmellon.rocks. Check him out. Super underrated artist, and he's just freaking awesome. So with that said, I kept on like kicking the can with Steve Niles, and we decided to come up with this project, self-publishing some books, and that was Bloody Pulp Books. This is our first title that we decided to come out with, and it's his beloved Cal McDonald, you know, I don't know, Savage Membrane, if you're familiar with any of that stuff on Dark Horse. This is some prose, and this is beautifully illustrated by the famous Kelly Jones. We all know Kelly Jones. You know, we published this book. Really proud of it. Still got a bunch of copies. All that stuff. And then we decided to come out with another book. We hooked up with the actor Lance Henriksen. Lance Henriksen has been in... He's probably the hardest working man in Hollywood. He's come out with like hundreds and hundreds of movies. Most popular, he is Bishop and Aliens. And so he got in contact with us. He wanted a book release. He's writing an autobiography. So we published Not Bad for a Human, written by Lance Henriksen, co-written by Joseph Madre. And check out this beautiful illustration by Bill Sienkiewicz. We got the top of the top, you know. Here's a little bookmark done by Mike Minola. Top of the top illustrators to do pages in this. And check this book out. So that is kind of my graphic design history, and you know, I just started talking to Steve again, and we're gonna do a new project here shortly. We're probably gonna do a Kickstarter and kick this back off. So, like I said, I'm a new old collector. I go to my LCS every Wednesday, pick up new titles. Super stoked on what I read. I'm starting to review that. And, you know, I know I got like 0 production value in my videos, and I give 0 fucks. I hope you enjoy the content, and I appreciate you like just checking this out. All right, y'all. Have a great night.